everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Hort Talk episode 8 on careers in horticulture. I'm Alex Jenkins, your host, and I'm joined today by three very special guests that I'm going to ask to introduce themselves.
Okay, I'll go first. I'm Chris Lowe. I am container manager at David Austin Roses in Albrighton in the Midlands, and I'm just about to go into my 36th year of being with the company, and that's me.
That's impressive.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I am working for More People Recruitment. We're based over in Lincolnshire, but recruit across the UK and internationally, and I'm just about to enter my 4th year here. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
Hello, everyone. I'm Adam. I work for a company called Low Waters Nursery, and I've been working for this company for 15 years.
Wow. So we've got a lot of experience here. So I'm just going to ask you all to tell me a little bit about how you got into the job that you're actually doing and kind of what your journey has been.
Yeah, okay. So left school at 16 and thought I wanted to have a career in the military.
Okay.
So that was scuppered by the fact that I'm colourblind. Yes, I grow roses for a living and I am colourblind. So that's an interesting one. Colourblind, asthmatic. So I tried all 3 of the military services and I was rejected for all 3. And then I thought, I'm going to follow my father's footsteps, who was a greenkeeper, South Staffordshire Golf Course. And when I was 16, it was the glorious days of Maggie Thatcher and the YTS. And I applied for horticultural position and I wanted to be a greenkeeper. And basically they said, well, we're struggling to find you a golf course to work on locally. Have you heard of David Austin Roses? And there's a bit more to it, but I'm still here 36 years on.
Wow.
I started August 86. I started within the company working for Claire Austin Hardy Plants because we weren't really doing a lot of container grown or containerized roses at that point. And so I started working on peonies, irises, and I think I was doing, I've been here quite a long time. My memory's not brilliant. But so sort of started on the hardy plant side. And then we had conversations regarding starting a container unit and supplying UK garden centres with potted David Austin roses. So within 2 or 3 years of being with the company, I sort of moved over to that side of the business. And at that point, we were doing about 4,000 roses a year. And we were potting inside an old sort of pig shed. It was. We were throwing. No, there was no pigs in there. Throwing compost through a hole in the wall. Everything was hand done, all hand potting, to the point where now we're doing about 700,000 6-litre roses a year. We were growing sort of a crop of just shy of about 1 million roses back then.
Wow.
And we're sort of doing 1.6, 1.7, maybe nearly 2 now. So yeah, I was only supposed to be here for a couple of weeks, and they said that we'd find you a golf course and we'd move you on. Well, they never ever came back. They never came back to me and said, we found you a golf course.
And are you disappointed that they didn't?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not in the slightest bit disappointed. So I did a 2-year City and Guilds horticulture 1 and 2, and those are the only. Well, actually, I tell a lie. They're sort of the only horticultural qualifications I've ever taken.
Mm-hmm.
I've just recently done a FACT fertilizer advisors course and passed that about 3 weeks ago. So that's a sort of my journey. A bit of an accident, really.
So if your father hadn't been doing what he was doing, you don't think you ever would have ended up in horticulture?
I think because I grew up on a golf course. And I had all the tractor drive. I used to love the tractor driving and all the machinery side of things, the mowers. I like the camaraderie in the old-fashioned break rooms, all that kind of thing. And I quite like the outdoors. Yeah. I like being outdoors, which has always been a big draw for me. But I suppose if I did sort of dabble with wanting to be a chef at one point, and that never came off because the work experience for 2 days at the hotel scared the living daylights out of me. that put me off for life. But yeah, I don't think I would have gone into horticulture if I hadn't got that kind of step into it through my family.
Yeah.
My mother's always been very kind of outdoorsy and very hands-on. So it was like a natural sort of progression, really. So yeah, that's
wonderful.
Me.
Yeah, so I finished college, didn't really know what I wanted to do after that. Ended up initially starting in management in food retail. I looked after all of the recruitment for the branch I worked in, which sort of made sense for me to come to more people on the recruitment front. We specialise here in a whole host of different roles across horticulture, agriculture and fresh produce. So it was quite a exciting place to be, but I found myself gravitating quite quickly towards horticulture and commercial production and garden centres. It's just sort of where my interests lied. So when the opportunity came to sort of take that a bit further and run the desk, I took it from there and sort of jumped on board with that. Been here doing this job for 3 years now, probably 2.5, focusing solely on horticulture, and absolutely love it. I'm currently studying an RHS level 2 in horticulture to sort of get that knowledge up.
Amazing. And what was it on the horticulture side that drew you to that?
I think it was just the passion that everybody has. The people that are doing it are truly passionate people, and that I love talking to people like that, because they're the people that I want to sort of spend my time with and orientate myself around. And I went to the first nursery I went to was a commercial strawberry grower, actually, and it was absolutely fascinating seeing how the produce ends up on the shelves that people grow and people buy. So it caught my eye straight away, and yeah, absolutely love it. Which is quite funny, because growing up you would not have seen me around soil or insects or anything like that, because that wasn't where my interest lied originally.
That's what I was going to ask, actually. Have you always had an interest in that side, or has it shocked you how much you now gravitate towards it?
Yeah, so my mum's an avid gardener. She's got sort of a big pot of an allotment, so we're always eating homegrown fruit and veg at home. But she was trying to get me out in the garden when I was a kid, and it just didn't really interest me, and I didn't think it necessarily ever would. And then I started, and until I joined More People, I didn't actually know anything about horticulture as a career, and how many different aspects there are, from getting it to seed to sale and everything in between. And I guess that's my frustration, and what I'm trying to do sort of alongside working with More People is just promote how diverse the industry is and how much there is. It's not just getting your hands dirty and being out sort of potting plants. There's so much more to it.
Fantastic.
So my journey is a bit of an interesting one as well, a bit like Chris. So I actually went to college and studied sports studies. So I had this passion of being a coach of some kind, either in badminton or football or something like that, and loved it. Or I was going to be a personal trainer. I fell out of college after that with a couple of A levels, and then living at home at the age of 18, thought I'd better get myself a job, because my parents are going to be pretty annoyed me sat at home with no money coming in. So I had a mate who worked at the nursery, and he said, "Oh, we need somebody to work driving the buggy around to collect plants for dispatch. It's only a 6-month job. Would you be interested?" And I thought, "I'll do anything. Yeah, that's fine. I can do that. I don't mind doing something a bit physical. It's what I've been learning to do the last couple of years. So let's do it." So I jumped in and started this job, and I love driving around. I'm a big avid Formula One fan, so I like driving cars. I got 4 months in, and somehow the business recognised that I was a useful individual to have, so they signed me up for a full-time contract. I'm obviously doing pretty well for myself, so I carried on, did it for a couple of years, and then in the second year, my friend, he left, so it left this big hole, and I got promoted into that role. And I thought, okay, I can run the dispatch shed. This will be all right. I can dispatch X number of plants through a season, half a million plants. This would be easy. Wasn't quite easy, but it was definitely fun. So I worked through that for 3 or 4 years, and then the sales office role became available. And I remember my manager. Lots of people listening may know a guy called Charles Carr. Shout out for him. He was a good mentor of mine, and he offered me this sales role position in the office. and I thought, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. I like being outside. I like being active, learning, being quite sporty, doing jobs around the nursery kept me fit. I got lots of things where you're lifting stuff, you're shifting stuff around. Like, it was a good exercise. I thought, I don't want to sit in an office all day. That'd be boring. I verbally said, nah, I'm not interested. And then turns out, speaking to a friend of mine, they were like, oh, you should diversify. You should add another string to your bow. You should get into the office. Even if you don't like it, you should try it. So I went back to Charles, the manager at the time, and said, do you know what? I've had a think about this job. I'd like to try it. He was like, oh, I thought you'd said no. I was advertising for that role today. But if you want it, you have it. So I was like, okay, cool, let's do this. So I went into the sales team, did that for 6 years, moved up as the sales manager, and then just continued progressing through the business to the point where I'm now operations manager. So I look after the whole nursery. And we've been moving towards the last couple of years. I think many people have done the same. We've been focusing on more retail online and selling products straight to the retailer. So that's been quite a fun project that we've been building over the last 5-6 years, but really pushing it harder in the last couple of years. So yeah, it's been great. Never thought I'd be in this industry. Never had kind of any real interest in it as a young person, but just fell into the role, love being outside, and now I actually enjoy being in an office and spending all my time in an office. But it does give me an excuse now and again to get out as well and do some other hard graft, like the guys. People quite often say to me, God, what do you do in the office? You should get out here and start doing some real work. Which clearly I turn around and say, you don't know how hard my job is sitting in an office. But no, it's good fun. I enjoy it.
Thank you, Adam. The three of you are really good examples of successful careers in horticulture, but what do you find most rewarding about working in this industry, and what do you find most frustrating?
I suppose Adam's already mentioned the word passion, I think, a couple of times.
And Sarah did, yeah.
And Sarah did as well. Yeah. So it's a great question, and horticulture for me, certainly. I work in a monoculture, so I don't really get to see anything other than roses. But the variety, and no one day is ever the same. So throughout my whole career, even when I was working on as a young lad on the production line, on the potting machines, unloading, picking orders, working in cold stores, all those kind of things, there was always something to challenge you. There was always something to keep it interesting. And although, we grow hundreds and hundreds of different varieties, so just gaining the knowledge of the varietal knowledge of what's in front of you, what's going past you, how to prune, the weed identification, pest and disease, all those kind of things. There's always something to learn. The frustrating thing for me is me as a person sort of embrace the whole thing 150%. Okay, when I was very young, 17, 18, everyone's a bit of a lad, you could have a bit of a skive, this, that, and the other. But you get to a point where you have to knuckle down and you have to push yourself and get to a point, but develop your career. And one of the things that frustrates me is that the people, and I don't really like generalizing, but the people that are coming in nowadays, certainly the youngsters, and I say youngsters because I can, they sort of expect it very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. So there's like this kind of, well, I want to be where you are in 2 years. Well, that's not going to happen. I want to be a supervisor or a team leader, or I want to move on to a different department or a different area of horticulture very, very quickly. And there seems to be that modern, and I've got a 14-and-a-half-year-old daughter who's just like that. I want to move on to the next thing. So that's a bit frustrating when we're talking about trying to get people into horticulture and into the business, because they just don't stick around. They don't see that if you apply yourself, and there's such an array, even within just the one company here, the breeding department, the potting department, the sales, the office, there's 25 different departments that these people could, there's rose shows, there's all that variety. Mm-hmm. But we sort of recruit people in, but they don't quite see where they can go, and it's getting across to people what this is. I fundamentally find this the most important thing, is getting across to these new people, apprentices or new starters, that they can get to a certain point, but it won't happen in a matter of months or even years. It's trying to get them to understand that. I find that my biggest frustration, in particular regarding the subject of recruitment and getting people into the horticultural industry.
Do you think that's to do with the fact that there are other industries that allow that? Are they comparing? Is it because they think I could work in retail and be promoted very, very quickly, or do you think it's, I don't know, Sarah, maybe you have a understanding from recruitment side. Do you think that drive, that want, that and not understanding the process is just because they're comparing horticulture to something else, or is that just a generational thing?
I think it's a mix. I mean, Chris touched upon a couple of things. Love and work in the sector. I think the passion that everybody has, and I don't know if this is because a lot of people, you either fall into this sector at an early age or you're following your parents' footsteps, and that's sort of, you're always surrounded by it, so you love it. It's a very innovative industry. There's so much going on, different trials, different ways of growing, trying different peat versus peat free, chemicals versus biologicals. There's so much going on that depending on what you enjoy, there's always a job for you.
I think what Sarah touched on just then, finding individuals that have the passion for horticulture. I never had the passion for horticulture when I joined the business, but I was a determined individual to succeed and move forward in a business. I had no guarantee that would happen, yet I was an individual that wanted to make that happen as best as I could, even if I just grew in confidence working. From a point of view of like what I enjoy within the industry, I quite like the difference in seasons. I quite like having the summer time, and every time it's sunny, everyone on the nursery is super happy. Like it can literally change. People are like, "Hey, the sun's shining," and everyone's really buoyant and exciting. And then when it's cold, everyone wants to spend longer in the office and chat to their manager so they can stand by the radiator. But actually, like they love being outside. They love getting their hands dirty. They love working in a glass house. Yes, it's cold. They say wrap up warm. But it's something different. Each season's different. You notice stuff when you're growing things. Stuff looks different throughout the season. There's stuff that looks really lovely in winter, bits and pieces that look great in the summer, etc. So actually, I quite like that. And us as a business, we grow best part of 1,500 to 1,800 different varieties through the season. And as Chris said, like every day is different. You could almost, this time of year, you could walk the nursery every couple of days and it would look different to what it did before, because things just move on so quickly. And I never thought when I joined the business that I would be that interested or even learn product names that quickly. But that was something that I was really good at, actually. And I picked up plant names, and I know majority of the range of plants that we grow. And that, I think that's quite cool. That's something that I like. And yeah, and the people that you work with.
We'll test you later.
Yeah, thanks. Only test me on the ones that we do.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's good fun. Another frustration actually is, and this probably is going to sound, no offense, Chris, but it's the older people. Like it's an industry.
Oh, how dare you!
It's an industry that you can quite easily look at and go, oh, that's for older people. Like it's not for younger people, and maybe that puts off younger generations joining. But YPHA, as Sarah said, is a great group of people that's brought a lot of young people together, which I was blown away by how many people are in it. Because if I rewound 2, 3, 4 years, I'd be questioning, I was the only young person in the industry, and where's this industry heading, and what does that mean for me and my future? But actually it fills me with a lot of joy and a lot of comfort that there is a lot of younger people in the industry, and there's also older people that have a lot of experience and knowledge that I can draw on, and not to discount those people.
Well, that's my next question, really. So, we, as an industry, we've got a problem with recruitment at the moment. We all know that there are lots of vacancies that we struggle to fill for some of the reasons that you've already mentioned. What do you think needs to change for us to solve that problem with recruitment, to get more young people in, to get more passionate people in the industry?
I think I'll just, we've obviously got people out there that are learning horticulture, doing horticultural courses, RHS, City and Guilds, and all those types of things. But I'll use my particular nursery as an example. It's very physical, very hands-on, cold, wet. You know, the summer's lovely, spring's fantastic, but the winter can be really, really horrible. We're production horticulture, although we do breed plant centre gardens, so we've got lots of different opportunities. And in the past, we've tried all sorts of avenues to get people in. We've done open days for local colleges. We've discussed going to schools. Social media is a very, very big thing in everyone's mind at the moment. It has been for a long time. So utilising social media as a company, we've got a huge marketing department. Facebook, all those kind of things. So it's really trying to make it appealing. And I'm going to mention the C word now, which is COVID. So COVID really threw a curveball to everybody. So we actually thought our business was going to shut. So two years ago, we were like, "Oh my God, this is it. The plant centre shut. A lot of people were sent home, furloughed, all that." But what actually happened? Our online business quadrupled overnight. So our product, Pots Through Post, literally online. My God, overnight we had to go from doing, I don't know, 1,500 a day to doing 4,500 a day. And we got the issue with people that were furloughed, childcare, health issues, all of that. And that was way before we were doing the vaccinations and the testing. So that really changed our mindset, the whole thing. We started looking at automation. We started looking at improving the business. And we also started looking at how we could make things better for the staff actually here on site. So we started doing things like fruit for everybody, and we provided meals because the restaurant was shut, because we got no customers. We actually cooked meals for the staff. So for me, it's how we the people that are out there looking for work. It's their market now. I think they're the ones that have got the ability to choose where they can go. So that it's important for them. And I'm finding we use a recruitment company to get our staff initially in through the door. They do all the screening, and we've got quite a criteria for those people to drop into. And talking to the recruitment company that we use, that they're saying that people are almost interviewing us. We're not interviewing them. They're looking around because there's so many different places you can go. I mean, money's the first one. Horticulture and agriculture traditionally low paid. Go back to the days of the Agricultural Wages Board. It's always been traditionally low paid. Why does it need to be low paid? I don't know. It doesn't have to be low paid. Yes, you can go to Amazon and do picking, but you're doing shift work. So it's how you make the business attractive. You know, we're investing a lot in different things for the people, but not necessarily the brass tacks of the hourly rate. And we're looking at how we do our reviews, how we make things a bit more, I don't know, funky, kind of, a bit more modern, you know, that kind of thing, how you make that attractive for not just, when I say young people, it doesn't have to be young people. It can be anybody. But what we're not getting and we're not seeing is people with the horticultural basics. They haven't even got a garden. They've worked in a factory all their lives. They've never had their hands in dirt.
Can I play devil's advocate here then, Chris? So is it more important to you, though, to have someone through the door that has some kind of horticultural knowledge, or that has the right attitude and passion? Because surely that they can learn. If they decide that they love it, you know, you can train them. There's other training out there. There's, you know, ways that they can become more skilled in that area. But surely if they've got the passion, if they've got the right attitude, that's the most important thing.
Yes, and that's a fantastic comment, because if someone's got that, you can't train this into a person, I don't think. The drive and the tenacity and the ability to give a decent or a fair day's work initially, and then yes, you can learn on the job, and then you've got training courses and college courses and online, all those kind of things, and moving around within the department and the company. So I think for me, it's probably more of an important thing to have a person that's willing to stick at it and give it a good go initially, but have that interest as well. So ideal world is someone that's got the horticultural bits and the drive as well, obviously. But yeah, one of the phrases I use is plant tickling. We're not plant ticklers. We don't do plant tickling. So if you're looking, if you want to work in this type of industry, which is quite sort of, let's get the stuff out the door, top quality, we're not after plant ticklers, but a certain part of the business, like the breeding, the R&D, that. So to go back to the variety, there's lots of variety within the industry where it suits lots of different people.
I think when it comes to recruitment, invest in people. When you get somebody in, you can go, right, I want to invest in X person this year, or a couple of people, and upskill your team. And people are motivated because they see that there's opportunities to be upskilled. And actually, rightly or wrongly, there's times when that's very challenging. There's demand is very high within the industry. So actually taking time out to upskill people is almost like a no-go. You can't go there, you can't do it because you don't have the time or the resource to do it. So people get frustrated and they go, right, I'm not valued, I'll go somewhere else, and they leave the industry altogether. And that could have been somebody you had been investing with, and bringing them along, and then they leave, and then you start the whole process again, and you're trying to find somebody again that's motivated, and finding somebody that is motivated is very difficult, and it's very difficult to judge when you go through an interview process. So a lot of the time they might be the best person you've interviewed and go, oh yeah, they've got good determination, I can see that the way they came across. But it is still a risk. You could take them and they could be completely different, and it doesn't work out. So it's definitely a balance of getting it right, and that's a massive challenge for us as an industry.
I think there's a massive skill shortage in the sector. I mean, I guess I'd be out of a job if it was easy to find people to recruit. But I think for me, I joined More People when I was 21, and if you look at people my age in general, 21 is about the year you're finishing uni, there or thereabouts, potentially. When I joined More People, I didn't even know horticulture was a sector you could have a career in. So if you then think about everybody else that has then paid £50,000 to go to uni, they're not going to then take a job in a sector they haven't trained for. So in my opinion, we need to be talking to people at secondary school, because when I was at college, all I got was university, army, all of your typical things. I didn't even know horticulture was a career. And if you're talking to people at college, I'd already made my decision by college what I wanted to do. It's too late. Businesses need to be making sure that from day one that people feel valued. So Chris mentioned that they're doing a lot of different things that isn't necessarily monetary value, but meals and different schemes, etc. It's making sure that when people do join the business, that from your induction is the best that it can be. So it's making sure that they feel valued from the first day they start. The amount of people I catch up with after a week and they say, oh, I haven't actually seen my manager yet, and it's quite frustrating, because actually if you give them the time of day from day one, that then for everybody, and Adam touched upon that, you think it can be, but it isn't. But it's just making sure that everybody gets that insight into how good this sector is, and that's not something that one person can do on their own. It's something that we've all got to chip away at.
Thank you.
Right, one last question. I know you all love your current careers in horticulture, but if I could just snap my fingers and you could have any other job in the world, what would it be?
Mine would probably be something to do with dogs because I am obsessed with dogs.
Okay.
Absolutely obsessed. But I don't know what I'd want to do. And if any dog ever came to me with any problem, I'd probably cry. So in hindsight, the job actually isn't for me. But anything where I
maybe
can just
not a
cuddle
vet.
dogs all day.
Maybe
Not a vet. No, absolutely not.
Some kind of high-end trainer or something.
Maybe something like that.
Well, I'm a drummer.
Okay.
And all through my career at David Austin's, I've sort of been in and out of bands and done the Chasing the Dream and been down to London and all that business. So I suppose that if you could click your fingers and get me as a drummer of a successful rock band or pop band and living that lifestyle would have been quite nice.
I'll see what I can do.
And the other thing is I'm a massive sci-fi stroke Star Wars fan. So I suppose if I could have been...
Chris.
So if I could have been some kind of part of the film industry doing some kind of, I don't know, stuntman or something like that, that would have been pretty cool as well, but involved in a Star Warsy universe somewhere.
Some kind of alien drummer in the Star Wars universe. Yeah,
definitely.
Okay. Right.
In the Mandalorian kind of thing.
Yeah, okay. I'll have a word. I'll see what I can do.
Thanks.
If I could click my fingers, as I said earlier, I'm a F1 fan. I'd love to be a racing driver. Like I'm actually pretty good as well, so I think I would.
Okay.
I think I'd win a few things. Yeah. I just wasn't picked up as a young go-kart driver.
Okay.
So that's what I do. However, on the flip side, I've got a family, and being a racing driver, I'd be traveling around, and I just wouldn't be with my kids, so that would be really rubbish. So although it'd be high flying exciting, I'd probably really miss them, or I wouldn't have a family because my life would have looked completely different. So different priorities in life.
Tell me, do you ever race buggies and stuff on the...
Depending on who's going to listen to this, I'm not sure I can answer that question.
You're fired.
When everyone's
everyone
gone home,
listening can't see you nodding. So
okay. Well, I'm not nodding, obviously, because it would be a no.
Thank you very much to my three very special guests today, Chris, Adam and Sarah. You have been listening to Hort Talk, an HTA podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Our next episode will be on women in horticulture, but till then, stay safe and thank you for listening.